Hello, welcome to my other show, Muse. My name is Susan Rushton, and this is the show on which I get to talk about people who are caught by the muse of any sort, dancing, singing, writing, acting, whatever. And this, I'm talking about. The two of us are going to talk about an author who was born 120 years ago. See if these quotes don't sound familiar. The world breaks everyone, and afterward we are all stronger in the broken places. Or, Maria, yes, Maria, yes, Maria, yes. Or, in the spring, the war was always there, but we didn't go there anymore. This is Ernest Hemingway's stuff. And in particular, Maria, yes. That's from For Whom the Bell Tolls, when they are being snuggling in the sleeping bag. We can imagine what they're doing and what she's saying yes about. My guest is Cathy MacHold. Welcome, Cathy.
Thank you.
Cathy is a person who is you are drowning. You're not drowning. You're surrounded by Hemingway. You teach Hemingway. You research Hemingway. You teach people how to write like Hemingway. And you are one of several people promoting Hemingway's 100th birthday commemoration events in Auburn and elsewhere in Placer County. If you want to find out more, you guys are started it last month in February, right? In Rockland?
In the Rockland Library.
And it's continuing through in Auburn and in the area environments for most of the year.
Right.
Yes.
We're trying to make it last.
Yes, that's wonderful. And the commemoration events are available. The information is available on the Facebook page, which is Hemingway's 120th birthday commemoration events. No space, all spaces between each word. And brochures are distributed in the area. And hold up one of the brochures. This is join us for Hemingway's 120th birthday commemoration events, and there are two phone numbers on the bottom of that brochure: 530-305-6225. Is that you?
That's me.
Okay. And there's another 530-613-1153. That's Sherry Anderson.
Right.
Who is your partner in crime.
She is.
Yes. Wow. And the two of you have done this before.
We've done it before on a very small scale. So 2 years ago we had 20 photos available to us that we put in the Auburn Library, and they were on display there for a month. And Sherry had scheduled 4 different events for the noon program at the library on Fridays. And so that was our ode to Hemingway.
Yes.
And then the pictures continued on the road show. And then I was able to...
Excuse me, I need to interrupt you. You say they continued on the road show. What do you mean?
So the collection is about 100 photos plus 10 quotes that were added to the collection. The collection was born in 2011 in Italy by a couple of Italian professors who, knowing that the Hemingway Society was having the meeting there, put together these photos about Hemingway's time in Venice and the Veneto area. And the photos are different sizes. They're printed on metal in black and white. They, were exhibited at the conference, and then they made their way to the United States on the East Coast. They've been in different universities, colleges, libraries, photo galleries.
And they're coming to Auburn.
And they're coming to Auburn.
Right?
Yeah. This is the second time.
Okay. So today is March 5th and 2019. And they are, some of these photos are going up in the Auburn Library today, right?
Yes, we actually hung them yesterday.
Okay.
And they're on exhibit. There's 10 photos and 6 quotes.
Okay.
And the quotes, so the story of Hemingway is told in 3 parts with these photos. When he entered the war as an ambulance driver in 1919, and then where he was injured and recovered, and then again in his life when he was married to his 4th wife, Mary, when they were on their way to Africa for a safari, and then after that African trip where he suffered 2 successive airplane crashes and he was severely injured. They came back and stayed in Venice during his recovery period.
Okay, so those photographs will stay in the Auburn Library for a couple of months.
2 months.
Okay, but there's more stuff going on, and this, if you take a look at, when you find this brochure, which is available in the Auburn Library, and the Rockland Library, and the Visitors Center, and hopefully at the Auburn Journal, which is a wonderful place for it. I say that with no prejudice at all. So you can find out all about the 12 other events, which include you doing a class.
I'm going to be doing a presentation on Hemingway, A Taste for Life. And that is a new paper I've recently written about Hemingway's influence on cooking and culinary skills and how he's been replicated in different places of the world. An example is in Venice, at the Gritty Palace, they actually teach a Hemingway cooking class on making Hemingway risotto.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to take that class.
Wonderful.
And so I'm going to share that recipe with people.
And you're going to speak about that when and where?
This is happening, A Taste for Life is June 19th at the Gold Country Writers location. Our meeting location is at Bethlehem Lutheran Church.
Okay, in Auburn on High Street.
Right.
Okay, great. And what else is going on?
Wonderful things. You're actually presenting a film at the Auburn Library, and we appreciate your support. And that's To Have and to Have Not.
Yes.
That's April 6th.
Yes, that's at the Auburn Library, 350 Nevada Street in the Beecher Room on the first Saturday of the month in April 2019. To Have and Have Not, Bogart and Bacall's first movie. I show it at noon, 3:30 and 7:30. Bring a fan because you're going to need to cool yourself off. It's a very sexy movie. And Sherry asked me she asked me to consider presenting a Hemingway movie, and at first I don't know, but this movie I just adore, and it's directed by a guy Howard Hawks, who was hunting or fishing with I can't remember which one with Hemingway, and he said I could make a movie out of your worst book. And Hemingway said, "What's my worst book?" To Have and Have Not, of course, he said. And so it's a wonderful. I've never read it, but I've seen the movie several times, and each time I do, I have to have a fan with me.
Well, Lauren, call.
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful movie and a lot of fun.
Yes.
and it is coincident. Oh, no, it is coincidentally part of the Hemingway celebration. Yeah.
And it works out wonderfully because then we also have Janice Wyckoff from the State Theater selected a film. Let's see, Cooper and Hemingway, The True Gen. And so that film will be shown at the State Theater on August 8th in Auburn on Lincoln Way.
Great, great. Well, thank you, Janice Wyckoff. Thank you very much, lady. That's wonderful. So there are 12 events through, and there's also wine tasting?
Yes, so Niger Winery, located in Nevada County. They're located on Rosemary Lane in Grass Valley, actually, has agreed to put Hemingway photos in their vineyard.
Oh, good.
And I showed them a photo of an exhibit that was already in a vineyard in Southern California.
Okay.
And
so
I could just see
it's
Mike
okay for you guys to do this because they do it. Okay.
Right, and Mike
It's
just
not
lit
unusual.
up.
Oh, good.
So we're looking forward to that fall harvest season and wine tasting with
Okay.
Hemingway.
Now, what is it about Hemingway? What's the big deal?
Well, the big deal for me is I read Paula McLean's The Paris Wife quite a few years ago. And then I reread it. And then I started picking up Hemingway books and reading them. And one that I found that was so enjoyable was this one, Hemingway's collection of short stories. And this is the Finca Viaja edition, which is the most up-to-date collection.
Okay.
And my husband and I would sit out on the patio with a cup of coffee and I'd read a short story. And then we'd discuss it and we'd get those epiphanies of,
Oh,
wow.
that's what he meant. Or that's why, and yeah, it depends on, a lot of it is you read them when you're young, and then you read them again. Oh, I get it.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you don't, we all had to read The Old Man and the Sea. Did you get it the first time?
No.
No. When you're 18, you don't know how to read a book or take a story apart and digest all of the nuances. So, but with Hemingway, you read one, you read another, you catch on. And then you read more and you fall in love with him. And that's what happened to me. I could feel myself falling in love with him.
Wow. Okay.
My husband doesn't care.
Yeah.
He calls me the fifth wife.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you're going to be conducting some, and other people are going to be conducting some talks about Hemingway and teaching how to write like Hemingway.
Yes, we have. We have a couple of things on that track. We have a writing workshop on April 7th with Sharon S. Darrow. She'll be presenting at General Gomez Art and Event Center, 808 Lincoln Way in Auburn. And she'll be presenting a 5-hour event. It is a paid event. It's not much, but it'll be beneficial to anybody who's interested in writing and publications.
Great.
And then we have another one. We have, actually there's several. One coming up sooner is April 5th, and that's the noon program at the library. And
At the Auburn Library, 350 Nevada Street.
yeah, that memorized.
Yeah, oh, you bet.
And so that program is going to be remembering Hemingway.
Okay.
Then we have another one, a book club discussion. So the Book Buzz, which is the Auburn Book Club, or Library Book Club, is going to be discussing The Paris Wife.
Okay.
And that's April 24th at the Auburn Library, 4 to 5 on April 24th.
Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming that people that you've told this to whom you've told this, with whom you've shared this, this really year-long, essentially it's a year-long celebration, have been as enthusiastic as I have. I hope they have been.
People were easily wanting to come on board.
Good.
We talked to, oh gosh, let me think of her name. from the City Hall. I can get it here.
Okay.
April Maynard.
Yes.
And she's with the Arts Council.
And the city's historian?
Yes.
Yes. April Maynard is Auburn's city historian.
And
great.
she is glad to show Hemingway for 2 months. Plus they have a display case there, so we'll be able to show other things.
In City Hall?
In City
Okay.
Hall. And that will be all of July and August.
Oh, wonderful.
So the photos, once they leave some of the areas that they're in, well, and there's 100 photos, so they don't all have to be the same photos in different places. They are all different photos. And it'll include a Hemingway typewriter, like the one Hadley gave him as a gift when they were first married. And then some very interesting posters, Hemingway shaking Fidel Castro's hand after a fishing competition in Cuba. Some memorabilia that I have, a rock from the Wood River in front of his home in Ketchum, Idaho. Just fun things. Name tags.
You like to pick up rocks too.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. Okay. Now you have another book there.
I do.
This is
my book.
Writing with Hemingway.
Writing with Hemingway, a writer's exercise book. And I'm proud to say that the International Hemingway Society has this on their website, along with other recent Hemingway publications. And they link it to Amazon where it can be purchased.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I use this
Writing
when I
with
teach.
Hemingway. Now this is, I beg your pardon, I interrupted you, but you're saying that this is, it's writing like Hemingway, or
No,
this is
No, I'm
okay.
not telling people how to write like Hemingway. I actually teach 2 writing classes for Placer School for adults. One is getting started with your first work of fiction, and the other is the writer's journey. So these are unusual writing classes. These aren't the classes that you take in high school or in college. These are classes for adults with the interest toward what we want to know. We want to know how a writer became a writer. How do you become a writer? We want to know, how does he fit in the list of all the other writers in the world? And what did they give us? You know, what can we learn from them? And so these are the things that I've taken from Hemingway. He gave us the iceberg theory.
Which means?
Everything below the surface supports everything above the surface.
And you don't see everything below the surface. And yeah, okay, yeah.
And then he also gave us the code hero, which is that stoic character, unemotional, strong, solid. He endures whatever is thrown at him throughout a story. He gave us epigraphs. Epigraphs have existed forever. However, he showed us how to use them to give us the hints of what the story is all about.
Give an example. Can you give an example?
I can.
Of one of them.
So in, let's see, the Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
The Snows of Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
He starts out with 2 epigraphs. One of them is by Gertrude Stein, the famous line that Hemingway made famous, "We are all a lost generation." And the second one is from Ecclesiastics, and it talks about the snow leopard up the top of the mountain, and how he can't be seen, but he's there, and his journey. And then it ends with the biblical phrase, "And the sun cometh and the sun goeth away." Very interesting. So when you read the story, you know, the pieces of the story come together with exactly that picture that he painted at the beginning.
Wow. Okay.
Do you want to hear about Hemingway clothes?
Yes, please. Tell me about Hemingway clothes.
So I was fortunate to present a paper at the International Hemingway Conference in Paris this last July. And my paper was on, those Hemingway clothes. And so what I did was I selected specific Hemingway stories, and I researched how he used clothing in his stories and told his stories. So I started out with a short story, A Soldier Home, and in it Hemingway describes a soldier wearing a stiff collar. All the soldiers are the same. They look exactly the same in their stiff collar. And what he's saying, and you learn this by reading several Hemingway stories, what he's saying is they were all injured. They were all hurt. They needed a stiff collar to hold their heads up. And you have to get that out of the story.
Okay.
So I start with that, and I end up with The Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah.
And this one I love. So The Old Man and the Sea is a very short story, and it has two characters. Hemingway,
The Old Man.
The Old Man, and he's really called The Old Man, and Manolo, the boy, refers to as the boy, that helps him. He sees that he has food, he sees that he's come in from fishing, and he sees that he has what he needs when he goes to bed at night. Well, the story starts with Santiago looking across his room at his clean white shirt that's stowed away with his wife's picture under it in the corner. And then we have the journey of the story, the battle of the, I think, 64 days fighting the fish and finally winning. But a shark ate his fish on the way back into the little village. Well, when he gets back, there's a excellent scene where he has his mask that he's carrying in and he's struggling with it. And the scene is right out of the Bible. And then he gets home, Manolio shows up, and he says, are you okay? Do you need anything? And then he says, I'll get you your clean white shirt. So he has been redeemed.
Yeah.
He has earned the right to wear his clean white shirt.
Okay. Now, you're going to talk about Hemingway's clothes in one of these events?
No. The one I'm presenting is on Hemingway's taste for life and his food.
Okay.
I have presented that at Gold Country Writers a few months ago, actually last June, I think. And, it's one of my papers. I have it in my heart.
Yeah.
And it's a fun one because it does dissect a lot of different stories.
Now, I'm being devil's advocate here. Hemingway is a dead white man. Why should we care about what he wrote, and why should we celebrate him?
This is great, a great question. I have a grandson, I have lots of grandsons, and one of them I wrote a short story for called Writer the Writer. And in it, Writer wants to become a writer.
Okay.
And he says to his teacher he wants to write like Hemingway. And throughout the story, he says, with his head on his face, looking at his teacher, I want to write like Ernest Hemingway because he has transitioned time. He was born in the 19th century, lived during the 20th century, and we are still talking about him in the 21st century. He's interesting. His characters are strong, great, memorable characters. His writing, it has influenced many, many writers. Stephen King talks about him. He's fascinating.
Yes, yeah. He wasn't a happy guy. He committed suicide, and he married 5 times?
He married I'm the 5th wife.
Okay.
We didn't get married.
Okay.
He was married 4 times.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of negative sides of Hemingway, but he's a human being like all of us, a flawed character.
That makes him a complex character.
A complex character.
Yeah.
And, you could look at his different wives, and he got something from each of those wives. He fell in love with his first wife, and she was in his heart always. He actually called her the day before he died. Yes, he committed suicide. However, I mentioned those 2 successive plane crashes. Well, he suffered severe concussions from that.
Oh.
And his demeanor, people who knew him and loved him could see that change in him during that point through the rest of his life, even his publisher. So I would say that he had concussions that they didn't know how to deal with, they didn't know how to diagnose, and he didn't get proper treatment for it. He was given electrical shock.
Oh.
He went into severe depression, became manic. Those who loved him surrounded him, tried to help him, but he became determined to end his life.
Okay.
It's tragic.
Wow. Yes, I agree. Yeah. Again, I'm talking to Cathy MacHold, who is helping to promote Hemingway's 120th birthday commemoration events in Auburn and elsewhere in Placer County. To learn more, go on to the Facebook page, which, at the risk of repeating myself, it's the Hemingway's 120th birthday commemoration events. And brochures are distributed in the area. They look like this. They're beautiful inside and out, and black and white primarily because that's what it was in the 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And if you want to learn more, there are 2 phone numbers on the front of the brochure: 530-305-6225, and that's Cathy's phone number, and Sherry Anderson's phone number, 530-613-1153. So investigate that, and do you have other supporters working with you?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, because we do. We want to. There's a lot of thanks to be given for this. Sherry actually applied for and received a grant from Placer County Arts Council, which has helped us do the brochures, print the brochures, pay for the event at General Gomez Center, various things that were necessary.
So thank you, Placer County Arts Council, Placer County. We're gonna, and who else?
I have Margie Webb and Sherry Anderson to thank from the Gold Country Writers.
Okay.
They are wonderful supporters and promoters. Janice Wyckoff from the State Theater, Friends of the Library, both the Rockland Library and the Auburn Library, Janet and Charlene, Susan Seifert from the Auburn Library for selecting the Paris Wife book. Yeah. Niger Winery.
Okay, and we run out of time, Cathy. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys at any one of these numerous events in Auburn and elsewhere in the county. Thank you very much for watching. Cathy MacHold, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you, Susan.
Yes.
Thank you very much.